So we're shifting to the parami of Virya this week. Virya is often translated as energy, diligence, enthusiasm, vigor. It's the energy really that brings us to sit, commits us to this practice. And I want to be careful about how we hear and translate Virya. Right? Our cultural tendency is to associate words like diligence, vigor, enthusiasm with a lot of very pointed efforting and striving. And my hope is that today we can explore actually the ways that rest is integral to our understanding of Virya and to our practice in general. Rest, right? Directing and embodying our enthusiasm for this practice in a way that is wise, balanced, and sustainable. So even the word rest, just kind of taking a moment to hear it and feel it. I know for me, it sort of immediately has a sort of settling impact, has a sort of warm texture to it. Rest almost automatically invites this embodied arriving or a landing or relaxation. And all of those are words that you probably hear every day when we set up the practice, right? Softening, relaxing, grounding. We orient the mind body to rest in this moment. And we use the word rest in this practice in so many other ways. We sometimes say, rest the attention. Rest the attention. So even now, kind of feel the difference if I say, rest the attention on the breath versus focus on the breath. It's kind of subtle, but for me, I hear and feel a difference. Rest the attention feels softer and gentler. We also often use the phrase resting in awareness. Resting in awareness. So the sense of being here, awake, aware, but resting, kind of calm, abiding. The anchor is a rest, and we're very purposeful in that. We come back to the anchor of the breath or sounds. And by focusing more gently on just one aspect of our experience, we come back to this sort of protected, safe harbor. Very different from being in the open seas of open awareness, right? Where thoughts are there, feelings are there, sensations are there, sounds, everything, which we can sometimes do in moments, but it can be very overwhelming and can deplete our energy. So we come back. And the anchor is a way actually to rest so that we build energy again. And then there's that association. When I hear the word rest, I think about restlessness, one of the hindrances, and one that my life, my system is definitely very, very familiar with. That experience of having energy, but it's not grounded, right? We kind of haven't arrived or landed. There's that scatteredness, not a lot of peace with restlessness. And so what happens when we invite the body, mind, and heart to rest? When we really rest, I think we relax, we land, and in that, at least for me, something opens. The body opens, the mind opens a little bit more. It's not that kind of laser focus. And we can feel into that spaciousness. We might notice the silence around sounds, the stillness around movement. Rest kind of brings us into that awareness of being held. We can relax into this moment, even as so much is coming and going. Which allows, I think, that openness allows for a different kind of presence and learning than we're used to. It's different from going out, getting the information and putting it in the mind. When we rest and open, we have more of a chance to receive what's here and to learn from that much more directly. It makes me think of what Bill says of we take our hands off the wheel a little bit in that relaxation. We can listen in a different way, receive in that place of kind of restful abiding. And I think rest in this practice, it's important to say that it's very different from checking out or shutting down. We're not dissociating. We're not in a sleepy stupor, which is another one of the hindrances. We're actually right here, balanced, but rested. So Thich Nhat Hanh wrote that resting is a very important practice. We have to learn the art of resting. Resting is the first part of Buddhist meditation. And he says, probably not surprising, the problem is that not many of us know how to allow our body and mind to rest. We are always struggling. Struggling has become a kind of habit. And he gives the example of a pebble that, if dropped into a body of water, settles. He says, it will reach the bed of the river without any effort. Once the pebble is at the bottom of the river, it continues to rest. It allows the water to pass by. During our sitting meditation, we can allow ourselves to rest like a pebble. I find that really helpful, because rest is something that is very difficult for me and hasn't always been intrinsic to my practice. I have a lot of energy that moves toward being productive, doing. So in terms of Virya, I have aspects of that diligence and enthusiasm, right? But often that is sort of imbalanced. It's not grounded. It can lack heart, actually. And then the practice becomes almost something that I'm doing to kind of check off. Or I'm not actually letting myself arrive and rest in it. And as I've been practicing more and reminding myself to rest in the practice itself, I notice that my energy is restored in a very different way. And there's a chant I wanted to share that I have found very helpful in remembering this. And it was shared by Dawn Scott, who has given some beautiful talks here in the Daily Sit. She gave a talk on the Brahma Viharas and shared a chant for each one. And the one for compassion went like this. I'll try to sing it. Resting, resting deeply, I return my life to the one who listens deeply to the sounds of the world. Resting, resting deeply, I return my life to the one who listens deeply to the sounds of the world. So resting, resting deeply. It's like, just like Thich Nhat Hanh says, the first step. First step, I return my life. Me, this is Virya, right? The commitment to the practice. We dedicate our life to it again and again from this restful place. Return my life to the one who listens deeply. Right? So this is the Buddha, Kuan Yin, these examples that remind us we too have that capacity, that same capacity to listen deeply and to listen deeply to the sounds of the world. So the sounds within us, around us, to be with the arising and passing of all of the joys and sorrows, but from this deeply resting place, that's where wisdom and compassion arise from. It's very helpful to me to remember that I have to start with resting deeply. And Thich Nhat Hanh also quoted the Buddha as saying, "My practice is the practice of non-practice. My practice is the practice of non-practice." Thich Nhat Hanh says, that means a lot. Give up all struggle. Allow yourself to be, to rest. So I hope as we experiment and explore with Virya this week, we also really hold and integrate that fundamental importance of rest in our practice. So thank you so much for your attention.